Well, the robins have started to nest for the second time, which I wasn't aware that they do, but I have two robins' nests on the property that I've found so far. I haven't actually seen the one that's inside of this weeping-fruited mulberry, but I just saw the male robin going in there with a worm in his mouth to, I suspect, feed the mother robin who's sitting on the eggs. And out in the garden, I'll show you another nest that's in an American bittersweet that I have growing on an iron trellis. Before I go out to the vegetable gardens, take a look at a clematis vine. I love the clematis vines, as you know from my previous videos. This one is called Clematis jackmanii. It's been in this same location since 1988 when I planted it, and it has had no care at all. I don't fertilize it, I don't water it. Every year it grows over 8 feet tall and has hundreds of these beautiful purple blossoms on it. And it's just next door to the mulberry that I showed you a few minutes ago. This is the American bittersweet growing on an iron trellis that has a robin's nest inside of it. I discovered this nest when a robin flew across the hidden garden out here looking like he was playing Santa Claus. Had enough reindeer moss in its mouth that looked like it had a full beard, and flew in there, and a few minutes later came back out, and I discovered the nest shortly afterwards. I'll try to give you a little close-up of the nest. I don't know how easy it is to pick that out on the video, but that's the nest up in there. And there's a lot of the reindeer moss at the bottom. This morning there isn't a bird on it, so they're either still constructing or they haven't laid a full clutch of eggs yet. But that's two robins' nests that I have. I was away over the weekend and we got a little over 3/4 of an inch of rain and evidently some high winds. Some of the Pvines have come away from the top of the trellis. That shows you what I mean, I guess. The area of Pvines, the little tendrils that were holding them gave up. I'm going to try to correct that this morning with a bit of garden twine. Well, now they're looking like they've been tied up, which they have been, but the vines will take care of that look in short order once they reattach themselves and grow some more. So at least they're not falling over with danger of breaking off. A lot of the pods are filling out. I shelled out one of the tall telephone green peas yesterday. I think it had 9 peas in it and they were about half grown. Very sweet and delicious. So perhaps another week or so I'll be able to have peas with my dinner. Last week I said I was watching this lettuce closely. I fear that it was going to bolt. Well, with the rain over the weekend while I was gone, three of the light green ones have bolted. I'm just about to cut them off and salvage them. I can still use all the lettuce. It hasn't actually gone to flower yet. So more lettuce, I guess, for a salad tonight. Well, I just discovered that I have some pretty good sized potatoes growing in these things, but it wasn't me that was doing the harvesting. I suspect I've had a visitor, a little masked bandit, the raccoons. I can't stand the things, they damage some stuff, but I've never had them dig up potatoes before, and I can't think what else would have done this. I can see one definite potato there, and if you can see down below it, there's another little one peeking out, so I think I will pull a couple of potatoes out before I fill the hole back in, but I wonder if this means he'll come back every night until I have no potatoes. Well, I removed the 2 potatoes that were exposed, and they're half grown or so, I guess, but I'll have them with my dinner this evening. My first new potatoes out of the garden, courtesy of the raccoon. But I'm just on my way back out to the garden, where I'm going to put a full bottle of cayenne pepper on top of the soil in my 3 containers with potatoes. So if he comes back for more potatoes tonight, they'll be already seasoned for him anyway. Looks like it's almost time to make red currant jelly. This is my one red currant bush, but every year it's always loaded with lots of juicy fresh fruit. For the past 2 or 3 years I've been making currant jelly, which has been very good. Now, it's now Tuesday morning. The earlier parts of this update were filmed yesterday, and the stuff that you see on the surface of the soil here with the potatoes is the cayenne pepper that I put down yesterday. At least there wasn't any damage last night. I don't know, perhaps Mr. Raccoon gave up and didn't come back anyway, but so far so good. But after I saw the damage here in the potato containers, I got thinking over the peas that I thought wind had torn down, and I'm kind of wondering if that wasn't climbed by the raccoon, checking to see if the pea pods were ready now. But there's no damage there this morning either, so unproven, I guess. The ground cherries, even the ones outdoors, have started to get taller now, and there's quite a number of the cherries and their little husks on each plant, so they're coming along nicely after having sat there for a long time without growing. I guess they were just waiting for some heat. Lots of squash blossoms and vines that are starting to grow in all directions. When I go over to add compost tea to this bed now, I have to be careful where I step because the vines are leaving the bed and headed out all over the place. Some small winter squash on the vines, and I've had 2 or 3 small zucchinis already. There are several more that will be ready to eat later this week. The heirloom variety of bush beans is coming along nicely. This particular patch is called Royal Burgundy. You can see where it gets its name, if you can pick out the blossoms here or not, but they certainly are a royal burgundy color. Not quite open yet, but there's hope for some beans there to come, I guess. The kale's looking a little bedraggled, but that's because I'm eating it. I've been cutting off the outside leaves. Lovely dark green, very tasty. Next to it, the broccoli. I'm not sure. It's an Italian variety. I can't recall the name right now. It doesn't seem to be having those big flat heads that we're used to seeing in grocery stores, so I don't know how much bigger these small heads are going to get before they start to bloom. There's no sign of any flowers yet, but I may have to harvest them soon. I don't think they're going to get terribly big. And the next to that is the Savoy cabbage, which is starting to head up. If I get out there in the middle, I'll show you one that's got a little head down in the center. And the applications of BTK seem to be working. All the new foliage is very clean anyway. I haven't shown you in the greenhouse for a couple of weeks, so you might be surprised at some of the growth that's taken place in there. The black cherry tomatoes have gone their full height, which is, well, I don't know, close to 6 feet tall, I guess. And the Buckbee's New, another heirloom variety, they still have about a foot to go. They're a little bit slower growing. But there's a number of green tomatoes on the plants, and everything's looking very healthy. The only criticism I might have is the black cherry. The vines are very sensitive. Just brush up against them and the end of them will snap right off. I've never had anything in the greenhouse quite like that before, but lots of blossoms and lots of small tomatoes starting to form. This is one of the Buckbee's New tomatoes. And good look at all the blossoms, things on that cluster. I'm going to have quite a few tomatoes per cluster, and it looks like I'll have at least 3 to 4 clusters per plant. The greenhouse cucumber has gone skyward. I see the first of the yellow blossoms starting to open this morning, with many, many more on the plant. And as I've said before, it's a hybrid. Every blossom is female, and every blossom will produce a cucumber. So in a few weeks' time, I'm going to be overrun with cucumbers from just 2 plants, unless something happens to them, of course. The ground cherries in the greenhouse are about 4 feet tall, as compared to the ones that are in the garden that aren't quite a foot tall yet. And I was concerned earlier that they weren't getting pollinated. Well, there certainly appears to be lots of fruit developing there. I'm very interested in this. I've never tasted one before, so it'd be good to see what they're like.